Justice Stats,
Yep.
Reggie Johnson, Eugene Morton. Eugene, this has been a crazy week here, especially if you're a Mavs fan. Maybe the Super Bowl was able to take your mind off of things here a little bit. Maybe they got a chance to watch the game, take their mind off of their troubles. We will talk
Yeah.
about the Mavs a little bit more as we get into this thing. But the weekend here, as say this past weekend, belonged to Jalen Hurts in a kind of uneventful game, man, to be honest with you, right? Like I don't know what it was about the Super Bowl, but just seemed very uneventful to me. Like it's even though there was scoring, it wasn't like there was no scoring or anything. It just seemed kind of meh. I don't know. Maybe because these two teams have played each other before. Maybe that's the reason. But it didn't seem super exciting to me. What were your
No.
thoughts on the game yourself? Anything jump out to you? I mean, I'm definitely glad my guy Jalen Hurts was able to pull this thing off, so I'm definitely excited about that. Jalen Hurts and Devontae going and getting those chips, you know.
Yeah. It was definitely. I mean, you kind of watch it like just like 10 minutes in, going, oh, I don't think KC is going to have a chance in this game. And as you're watching the game, you're like, oh wow, they're only rushing four guys and still getting to him. So it's almost like that carbon copy when Tampa played them, right? They just kept,
Right.
just bully balling the Chiefs offensive line, getting the Patrick Mahomes, and that's what they did, right? I think it was I read a stat like 42 dropbacks for Mahomes, and there was just four linemen running at him, and so if you
Yeah,
can,
they weren't even blitzing, so it's crazy.
right, so if you can do that, and it's a bad sign when it's like, oh, you're moving your guard to left tackle for the Super Bowl. It's like, oh, this is not going to be good for the Chiefs. So, um, again, I love parity. I mean, again, part of me is like wanting to see three-peat, but it's like, man, I just want to see another team win. It's like he's won three. He's still a great. He's still a great quarterback. I love
Right,
him. I
right.
mean, I still love Patrick, but it's like I would like it's. I was very happy for Hurts, to win again. You and I are both SEC guys, so
Yeah,
it was
man.
like, oh,
A lot of
right.
SEC
So
guys on that Eagles team.
right, a lot of SEC on the offense and defense side of it.
Correct.
So I mean, I was fine with it. I mean, I was surprised. I thought it'd be more of a closer game, but just it, you, Pat. I mean, Philly exposed their weakness is their offensive line. And again, they'll address it in the offseason, of course. But I was just happy to see Philly win. Just honestly, just for Jalen, I didn't want him to like go, oh, he never win the big game because I don't think the first game was a lot his fault. I mean, the defense did not, you know, do any like they didn't change anything. They didn't like do any kind of changes in the second half versus Kansas City last time. So
Mhm.
it's nice to see them just like, okay, we're gonna stick to our game plan, our blueprint, and that's what they did. So I know. In the end, I was happy with the result. I'm surprised that it was that one sided, but no, I'm just happy for Jalen and for him, he just never has to worry about it. Okay, he can live the rest of his life, not win another Super Bowl. He's won one. That's
Yeah. At least he got a
right.
chip. Absolutely.
Right.
And that's what a lot of these teams are players, especially. I would say teams, of course, teams want championships, but once you get one, it is a big monkey off the back, so to speak, especially if you're a team like the Eagles that's knocking all the time, right? It's like the Celtics when the
Right.
Celtics were knocking all the time, and it felt good to see Tatum and Brown finally get one after knocking on the door, getting so close all the time. The one thing that you're going to need, unfortunately, for that validation, and that's going to be, hey, you got to go out there and win a championship. So for that validation
Right.
is something that you're going to need, and I am definitely glad that they got it. Let's talk here about the Chiefs on the other end. What do you think here? It's funny because somebody asked me this before. They said, "Do you think? What do you think? Where do the Chiefs go from here?"
Yeah.
And I don't think they go anywhere from here. I mean, they lost 2 to 3 games last year in totality, including the playoffs. Like they lost like 3 games last year. I
Mm-hmm.
think they can fall off, right, and still win 12 games last
Right.
year, and you'll consider that a fall off for them. Like, what's going on with the Chiefs, man? They're only 12-5 this year. So when you have those kind of conversations, I'm just not concerned about you yet. Maybe if I go to the regular season and you do, because I mean the Super Bowl's only one game, man. It's 4 quarters. You can go to that game and lose it. It's not necessarily mean that you're the worst team. You've seen the better team lose the Super Bowls. I can't even say that was the case this time, because the Eagles did have that number 1 overall defense, which did show up. But at the same time, it's just hard for me to worry about a perennial double-digit winning team. You know what I mean? They win double-digit games for like the last 5 years. Before I worry about where the Chiefs go from here, I do think that we should start to see some, not necessarily attrition, some wear and tear. I guess some people thought they saw wear and tear this year, but they lost like 1 or 2 games all season. So I don't know what this. I don't know what to say. Maybe we've got Chief fatigue. We're just so used to seeing them win that unless they win a Super Bowl, it's like, we don't even count it no more. But there's so many organizations who would just love to be in that situation to where they could say, Super Bowl or bust for them. Because those organizations, you're just hoping that they can get to 8 wins, 9 wins, a winning season, getting over the hump. You got all those organizations that are just kind of getting over the hump organizations. And then you have the Chiefs that are winning 13, 14, 15 games, and people can say they're falling off. So it's interesting. Do you think maybe Travis Kelce, who knows? Kelsey's getting up there, so I can see that, but it's not like Patrick Mahomes is 37. He's got some years left.
No, but you have to factor in so many the playoff games that he's played in Mahomes.
A lot of wear and tear, right?
A lot of wear and tear. So I mean, if you're a GM, you want to protect him more this year, right? You got to really just dig into the offensive line, more into running game. I mean, we know Pacheco was injured the last year, so you go. I mean, there's a lot of running backs in this draft. You pick up another running back. I mean, offensive line. So they're one of those teams that you're not going to be like, okay, you're going to watch them do things off season. They're going to shuffle the offensive line around. They're going to draft smart. So, like you said, it's not you keep building around your prize, and we still kind of have to wait with what Kelce wants to do, but again, you could still build within the draft where there's a lot of good tight ends you can get in later rounds. Not saying he's going to be replaced, but you can get targets for Mahomes in those later rounds via free agency, because again, there's going to be guys that are going to take less money to come play with his team because they're at the end of the day, they were just in the Super Bowl. And so you can go, hey, look, the pitch is, hey, we were there. If you were here, maybe you get us over that hump. So again, you're not concerned because you still have one of the best quarterbacks. Again, he may not be there, statistically like your Lamar or your Josh Allen, but he's a winner. And how many
Still they gotta be still represent the AFC, right? Still represent the AFC.
Right. And I know the narrative was like, oh, finally, we don't have to be scared of Kansas City and in that Super Bowl conversation. But if you're in the AFC, you still have to figure out how can we beat this team. And
I wonder who said that too. So are you hearing that online? Are people because the Eagles beat the Chiefs? Are people thinking that the Chiefs are over now? Like as an organization, is that what you're reading out there? What are you seeing?
I keep hearing that the window. It's like, but if you
the window is as long as the guy, the driving force for the window, right? So when Michael Jordan was doing what he was doing with the Bulls, their window was his window, pretty much. So I figure like the Chiefs' window is Patrick Mahomes' window. So whatever window Mahomes has is the Chiefs' window, because the Chiefs have already shown that they can finesse the financials. They don't need a powerhouse team. They don't need to run a powerhouse team out here for them to be competitive. So, and
you got Andy Reid too. And you have one of the best coaches, right?
He's still there. So Andy Reid's still there. Patrick Mahomes still there. The window is open as long as they're still there, in my opinion. because
I
they're the
agree.
ones they're the driving force for this success. I don't
Right.
understand how you can say the driving force for this. If Tyreek Hill left and they fell off completely, maybe I get where you were coming from, but he
Right.
left and they won like 2 Super Bowls. So it's kind of
I
like,
know.
and I don't know if Patrick Mahomes is even 30 yet, bro. Is he 30?
No, he'll be 30. I think this year he's 29. So I think it's either this year or the start of the new season. He'll be 30.
So Patrick Mahomes turning 30, starting new season, and some people will feel the window's closed. Like that's it, I guess, huh? That's it for Patty Mahomes. A bad game is just a bad game, man. What do you say? What can you say? Everybody has a bad
Right.
game, and sometimes the playoffs and Super Bowl is the worst time to have it. But unfortunately, if you're a team that's ripping through the season and you have these trips and falls, they do tend to come later on in the season after you've won 12, 13, 14 games. Maybe you lose that last game of the season, and sometimes coaches want to go ahead and get it out of the way. They'll say, man, let's go ahead and get it out of the way now rather than come into the playoffs and have that loss then. So it happens. Chiefs, when you look at what the Chiefs, you could argue, looking at what the Chiefs have done all year, that this is kind of overdue, to be honest with you. You could argue that not necessarily that this had to happen this way, but you can argue that they haven't been exactly blowing teams out, and it's a possibility that the team will necessarily come in here and blow you out one day. And that just happened to be during the Super Bowl, is what happened.
Right. I know. It's like when you watch they has so many times where you're like, oh my God, they're gonna lose this game and they won it. And it's I'm not worried because they just have such a smart organization. You have Patrick Mahomes, who's, I mean, again, he's almost like, he's not Brady, but he's taking Brady like money. He's understanding, like, I can't do this myself. And so they're gonna figure out ways to go, hey, we can like put money in this way for your contract to where we can get you a better offensive line person, a better left tackle, or they're going to do things. They're like, oh, this is what they do, and they'll get a right wide receiver. It's like, oh, that guy was just sitting in like the third round, and of course he's a speedster, and they'll get a fourth rounder left tackle who's amazing, and nobody saw it. So it's just they're going to be there. They're always going to be there because they have, a winning quarterback. He doesn't care about stats. Doesn't care about touchdowns. All he wants to do is win.
Yeah, and it's, if anything, maybe Kelsey is the situation you're looking at. If you're looking at a guy who might
the one you're
walk
looking
away,
at.
Maybe that's the situation and what a career it would be if he chose to do so. But until Patrick Mahomes walks away, I'm hard pressed to say that the window is absolutely closed. Now, what is interesting, let's go ahead and bring this guy up because the window might be closing on him. That is Nico.
How crazy is this? It kept going through start of Super Bowl, through Super Bowl weekend, and we're still talking about it.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? The reason that it's still being discussed is because of what happened. So if this game starts, both players start, and to be honest with you, AD had a more impressive start. And what's also funny is Dallas getting the full AD experience. The Dallas got the full AD experience in one go. You know what I mean? And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But with Nico, I hope he's increased out of security, right? Like at the house, man. I hope when AD went down with that injury, so he should have increased the security as soon as the trade was made. He should have had they should have been waiting outside the door as soon as you make the trade, right? As soon as AD goes down, I need an increase. You call whatever company that you got out there. If they got you 2 guys, tell them you need 3 now, man. I need 3 guys out here because it's going to get real crazy. About roughly 2 weeks later, and this is still a trade that people do not understand. Roughly 2 weeks later. And now Nico seems to be public enemy number 1 in Dallas. I'm not sure if you saw the owner, man. The owner, Patrick Mark, came out and made some spicy statements about one of the great guys there, talking about Kobe and Shaq and Jordan, making it kind of alluding to the fact that Luka wasn't really measuring up from a work ethic standpoint. That's kind of what he was alluding to in his statement. So there's a lot of people in Dallas who don't like that either. For like, hey, here's a guy not really showing the appropriate amount of appreciation for a guy who took you to a championship just last season. Led us there when he was in the championship, led you in points, rebounds, assists, steals. He led all those categories. The guy, the out of shape guy, led all those categories. Is there any hope now? Because I remember when we very first looked at this trade, we were like, oh, well, the guy can win a championship. We're trying to figure out in our head what can be done for one, the city just not to hate this guy, but for the city to start to heal in general, even just outside of him, just start to heal. They would needed to win. Now would him go and also you needed to win with Anthony Davis. Let's not get crazy. You don't just need to win. You can't win without him either. You need to win with him because people are going to be looking at you like we could have just kept Luka here if this was the case. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I mean, it's just like it just goes back to what we talked about. You have a generational talent. You don't trade it. Because I was listening to so many podcasts when just different people like they don't even care. Like it's like they don't care about winning a championship. And I want to know. I want to talk. Like I would love to talk to a Dallas fan. Like, is it okay that you won one already, and you're okay with letting this go, or is it because you've been lucky to have two generational talents on your club, right? You had Dirk and you had Luka. So, and it's one of those crazy things. Is like you have this generational talent, and I just don't even think a championship would wipe it away. Because okay, you won the championship, great, and that team. What happens after that? Does it keep going? And does Kyrie stay? Does Anthony Davis become the street clothes to Anthony Davis the next year? It's just, and you can see now they're even struggling just to be in the play-in at this position. So it's like I'm just still dumbfounded by it. At least when we traded him, we didn't know this was going on. But you guys traded him when by time all NBA player. It's just I feel bad for the Mavs fans because it feels like Mavs fans knew what they had in front of them, but the player and the GM and owner didn't know what they had. You have this talent that's going to keep you relevant in the conversation. And I always wonder, it's like when I was going to talk like college football, when we cut Kirby Smart, it wasn't like, okay, we instantaneously were going to win a championship, but Kirby kept us in that conversation. And when you trade Luka takes you out of that conversation. There's so many there. I mean, we want that guy, right? We have a guy, but we don't have a guy that keeps us in that championship conversation, right? With the Hawks. We love Trae Young. He's our guy, but Trae does not go. People aren't saying, oh, Trae's going to be this generational talent. You're going to build around this guy and you're going to win a championship. We know what we need. We need other pieces around him. With Luka, you're like, okay, I have this guy. I can put this around him, and we can go. We're in the conversation for a championship. That's very rare, and that's what Dallas traded away.
Yeah, and at 25, going on 26, Lakers will ride that out for another decade or so. And to the Lakers of all teams, an organization that doesn't have any trouble really recruiting people.
No,
it's kind of depressing. Now let's talk about the AD experience that the Mavs got a chance to see. So if you're a Mavs fan and you had never saw Anthony Davis before, you didn't know what Anthony Davis was about, and he comes to your organization. If you happen to be at the game, at Anthony Davis's first game that he played for you, you got a chance to see the entire Anthony Davis experience. A beast who cannot stay on the floor. And you got to see it all in game number 1. He came, he gave you almost 30. He gave you about 17, I think, on the rebounds. He was on his way to a monster like 50-30 game.
Right. Looked
something
amazing.
like that. He was on his way to, which is true. Anthony Davis is, if you have been in New Orleans or LA, you know this guy. You seen him before.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the problem: fourth quarter, Anthony Davis not being on the floor. You've seen that guy before as well in New Orleans and in LA. That is what the fans are worried about. The absolute worst case scenario, right? Absolute worst case scenario, because the thing is, you got to see exactly what he is. This is it. This is it. This is the Anthony Davis show. A guy who is an absolute monster when he's out there.
Right.
An absolute beast when he's out there, but can't stay out there. Can't stay out there. And, you know, when he goes and he dunks early in the game, when he starts yelling, "I'm here." Do you think he wants that back, man? Do you think you want to? Because it was pretty emphatic. It was like, "I'm here." And I'm not going to lie to you. He started to sell me on the trade a little bit when he dunked like that. He started saying, "I'm here." So I'm like, okay, well, baby, let's look at this for a second. Because, you know, he was out there wheeling and dealing. He was dishing. He was blocking shots. And then non-contact groin injury, out of here. And also part of the Anthony Davis experiment, or part of the athlete experimented period, is when you put that microphone in their face at the end of the game and they say stuff like, "It's not serious, guys. Don't worry. Be out here." I remember one Christian McCaffrey saying that when I was drafting him. When I had already drafted him as my number 1 overall running back player there. McCaffrey said, "It's nothing serious, guys. I'll be out there Monday."
Serious.
Weeks later, Anthony Davis says, "You know what, guys? Nothing serious. I just tweaked a little something." Weeks later, we're gonna be out a month, bro. Gonna be out about a month. And then when you're hearing stuff like Anthony Davis avoids surgery, what? Wait. What do you mean avoid surgery? That's we go from having Luka to guys avoiding surgery. Depressing, man. And another thing to that too is depressing, because Dallas doesn't look bad out there, man. Kyrie's out there cooking. I mean, with AD out there, they look like a good basketball team. But I think Lively has gone down here recently. Lively's been down. They lost Gafford recently. So they lost Gafford, who has gone down recently. So they're going to need to get him back healthy. But the problem is, and every fan base knows this that has a guy that's even like Anthony Davis. Every time they hit the floor, the clutching your chest, the holding your breath, every time they hit the floor is going to get exhausting. It's going to get exhausting, man, because they hit the floor a lot in basketball. These players hit the floor all the time. And you're going to have a guy who you don't ever know is getting back up. Every time he hits the floor, it's going to be like, oh, my God, like, this could be another one. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Where do the Mavs go from here?
Well, I was pulling up the standings. So right now, Dallas is in 8th, and
You're an
the
8th
Lakers are 8th seed, and Lakers are in the 5th seed. And I mean, I know the Lakers got blown out by the Jazz last night, but I mean, but it's like, but you're still bringing along Luka. It's just, there's more upside, right? With Luka, it's a no-brainer.
That's because you're dealing with these issues anyway. Like if you're going to deal with the problems anyway, deal with them with your 25-year-old global superstar. Right. You know what I mean? Right. If I'm going to have these issues, because it's not like Anthony Davis is playing way more games than Luka. Like you would have had a better example if they chose a Mikal Bridges kind of guy, right? You get a guy that's just never missing games. And then at least on the surface, I can say, well, this guy missed games. And even though I do think he's still a better player and his trade doesn't work, at least I understand that you got a guy that plays a lot more games than the guy we had. And that's not the case. Not the case here.
Yeah. It's one of those things it's gonna keep looking bad. I just don't see
until it looks good, right? It has to turn around. Like until it looks good, Eugene, it just looks bad, right? That's a good point,
right? And then who knows when that's going to be? And that's it's going to be, again, do they make the play-in game? Do they even make the playoffs? I mean, yes, they have a good squad, so they're going to make the playoffs. But is it you traded away to make the play-in game? Great. To Lakers, who may climb up to they're number 5, maybe they climb to the 4th or 3rd seed, and then you're just watching this team progress
You can't watch Luka
And
in the playoffs, man. And
right,
I fear for Nico's job if that's the case, man. Let me tell you something. I fear for Nico's job if the Mavs finish worse than they were. If they
which they
finish
will.
off worse than what they started before this trade, and then your player that you trade away goes on any kind of playoff run where he's scoring 20, 30, to 25, 30 points, it's going to look terrible for you. And that seat's going to get super hot. And I think one of the problems with the situation the Mavs have put themselves into, Eugene, is that they can't readily get themselves out of it. There's nothing they can do to get themselves out of the situation. You have to literally wait for Anthony Davis to get healthy. Then once Anthony Davis is healthy, you have to literally wait for him to win you a championship. And then after he wins you a championship, you better pray that Luka does not win multiple championships. If Luka wins two,
Right.
that's still going to be a fail for you. You see all the fails? There's so many fails here.
and add on to the fails, you keep poking the bear. Like, you keep dropping all these things about him. Like, oh, he was this. Like, he didn't lose weight, or he
The
was going
PR
out
hit
all
piece
the
they
time.
try to do when they want you out the door.
Right. The PR hit. So you're doing the PR hit. You trade him to the Lakers. You trade him to the person LeBron wakes at 5 a.m. and eats asparagus and runs 10 miles. Cool. Maybe I should do that. I mean, it's just like you trade him to a person who Luka has obviously just watched him all through his years, and it's like, oh, so, and then you give him the fuel, like you keep dropping all the PR pieces, and then like,
and he's trash pretty much. You know what I mean?
yeah, he's trash. You trade him in LA, where I think you just walk around like, oh, I think I have to lose 20 pounds where I'm at. I remember when Dwayne Wade was in Chicago and he got traded back to Miami. I felt like he instantly lost 20 pounds because he got traded back to Miami. I just think you're gonna just see this transformation because he's motivated. You just
Gotta
keep
be, right? You gotta be,
pissing
man.
him
And they
off.
just cost you $100 million. Like, you gotta be. Like, they took over $100 million away from you by making this move. They talked
Right.
they talked about you on your way out. They talked about you when you were gone. The guy they traded you for is not even playing. Might not
Not
even
even
play for a
playing.
month. This is set up. There's so many ways, in my opinion, that they're set up to lose this situation. But I think that the Mavs don't care. I think ownership wanted to make this move because it just seems more and more with the ownership coming out with Nico spearheading, because I do believe that is the case. I don't think that is necessarily a move that the owner necessarily moved to make himself.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just a move that Nico wanted to make, and I just think that the owner probably agreed with it. And you don't know that Jason Kidd didn't agree with it either. You just don't know. You don't know if they agreed with it or not. Well, I think they had to. I think they had to. They had to, because I don't know about the Jason Kidd, because he has plausible deniability because Nico's kind of taking him out of it to say that he didn't know
Yeah.
anything. But that's so hard to believe. If you have the working relationship that they say they've had, then at least you know what the writing is on the wall. You know how Jason Kidd feels about Luka. I'll tell you that. You know how he feels. So you knew that if you traded Luka, Jason wasn't going to walk out the door. You knew that. So that means
Yeah.
Kid's been talking to you.
Yeah. Well, Jason didn't look too happy in the press
He looked like a
conference.
hostage when he was up there, man.
He really did. Blink your eyes if we need to come save you, Jason, because that looked like, it looked like he had a conversation, but it also looked like Jason like, no, we need to figure this out because it's like he's 25, he's a kid, we can mold him in something else. Let's not be silly and trade him for Anthony Davis or whatever they're going to trade him for. So yeah, it's crazy. It's like we're still talking about this. It's insane that, and we're all trying to rationale it in our brains, but I just think it's going to go down as just kind of the worst trades ever.
Yeah,
We
think it
thought
is.
Deshaun
Me
Watson was
personally.
pretty bad, but Deshaun was the least. It's one of those things. You could look at Deshaun and go, if you're Houston, let's get off this. Let's see what we can get. This is
Right.
like, I just never. The only thing I remember, and it's not even apples to apples, but I remember when Dominica was traded for Danny Manning. But even then, it's like I was mad, but it wasn't like I love Dominique, but it
He
wasn't
wasn't
like
25, I'll tell you that.
exactly. That's the thing, and like I mean, that's the only comparison I can give it to. But again, I was mad, but I wasn't gonna like stop being a Hawks fan. Like I do not, I would not, just be mad at Mavs fan going, you know what? I'm a Lakers fan now because they traded my guy to that team. So
It'd be interesting to see how it all pans out because only the future will tell. It's just that the Mavs have put themselves in such a corner where they need a lot of things to go right in order for them to
right,
look good. And almost any of those things that go wrong is going to make Luka look good. So we'll
yeah.
give this a couple minutes here. Let's spend a couple minutes on this guy here. Notice one of your favorite guy, Mr.
Oh.
Ayahuasca, Mr. Rogers here. Interesting here. This
By the way,
wasn't very surprising.
Sorry, real quick. If I see any Instagram tweet that he's going to Pittsburgh, I'm sending it to you. Just
Man,
FYI,
please don't, man.
to drive you
I've
nuts.
already ranted about that on the show. I ranted about that on another show the previous night that I recorded. I ranted about that already because it has been mentioned. And I was like, why in the world? We'll run it back with Fields. I'll run it back with Wilson. I'll run it back with any one of those two before I would run it back with Rodgers here. Why you would feel like Rodgers would be replacing either one of the guys that you have is a better replacement? I would not understand that. So I'm hoping that he does not, but I have heard it though. And from what I heard too, the odds are pretty good. The odds aren't bad of him going to Pittsburgh. So it's scary for
It's
us
scary.
Steelers
It's
fans.
really scary for you,
It's a
my friend.
very
Really
scary times, man, because Rodgers needs to go to a complete team. Steelers, we're still missing a receiver, in my opinion. I don't know that we're all the way there. So I don't know. I definitely know that Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, is a no for me. But middle of the pack, I think, from statistically speaking, last year could get a job. He's not the worst quarterback in the NFL. I think the biggest issue with Aaron Rodgers is everything that comes with Aaron Rodgers. If you bring a guy like that in, he's not just
Yes.
coming in by himself. He's bringing his entourage. He's bringing his Netflix special. He's bringing his darkness retreats. He's bringing all this. All of it's coming with him. So it's like, man, do I 4,000 to 5,000 yard Aaron Rodgers, 30 touchdown Aaron Rodgers? Yes, I'll deal with it. This Aaron Rodgers that just played for the Jets, I don't know if that guy's worth bringing in, worth dealing with all the rest of the stuff I'm going to have to deal with because I brought this guy in here. You know what I mean? Like, no, at this point, I'll take my 3,500, 3,700 yards elsewhere, my friend, with somebody else who's just going to be a little bit less drama filled and not have the media hanging on every word and you doing McAfee in the back of the locker room here, wherever you're doing it at. It's no. I mean, just a no for me. Talent wise, I think he could squeeze out a few more years. And a lot of people in the NFL, especially, if you look at that Larry Fitzgerald, Andre Johnson package, like look at what those guys did. And look at how long they were able to stay around, right? And I think they were able to stay around because of the guys they were in the locker room. And not to know that Larry Fitzgerald is renowned for this, for being such a locker room guy that the Cardinals at some point will pay you just to hang around.
Mm-hmm.
You see that happening opposite with some of these superstars. Some of these superstars, once they even get to where we feel like we can't use you anymore, see you later. Once you're not even all the way out the door yet, but once we think you out the door, see you later. Whereas Larry Fitzgerald, you could have been lost a step. We love having you in the locker room. We're going to have you around. We'll pay you another year or two just to be here, just to be around the boys. Where Aaron Rodgers, they will pay you to go away from the boys. Like they're paying you literally to leave the boys. You know what I mean? So
dead cap money. They're taking, hey, you know what? We're good. We'll take the 40 plus dead cap money and we'll
see you later.
Figure out a way. See you later. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. So you're literally being paid. It's the exact opposite of those players, right? Those guys who can stick it out a few more years in NFL because people just like having them around. So you can't even be one of those guys at this point.
No,
I think that he has an opportunity from a talent standpoint, from everything that comes with him standpoint. I feel like that's more of the issue for me. What are your thoughts there?
No, you nailed it. I think that's what you're coming across. There's no doubt of the talent. There's no doubt the moment he retires, he's going to the Hall of Fame. There's zero doubt of that. It's just what you said. It's the baggage. It's the whole the McAfee show. It's the Netflix, and just it's like if you're winning games, you'll put up with it. And you and I have made I made the Steve, we made the Steve Smith comparison. It's just like once you get to that point, you're more a headache than you're winning games. We're just gonna
Mm-hmm.
put up with you more, and I think that's where he's at. Yes, he he had his moments. So you watch him throw the ball, it's like yes, he still has it, but it's just you're not gonna put up with it anymore. If you're the Steelers, no, I'd rather just you know Justin Fields is not a start. He's not a starting. He's not your starting quarterback. He's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. But hell, I'd rather sign two other veteran guys to go. Let's bring in some QB competition. I'd rather sign Sam Darnold. At least I got a. I mean, again, we know the limitations, but he's not going to be a distraction. At least I can put some things around this guy, and I can be a 9 or 10 win team again. So I'm with you. I just wouldn't want the headache. It's not worth it. I'm not getting any better. That's the thing. No matter where you put him, your team is not getting any better.
It's a struggle for me because statistically speaking, he's a good quarterback. I mean, he passed for. I poo-poo the fact that he didn't pass for 4,000 yards because we got so used to seeing him do it in Green Bay. But as I look at his stats here, he actually did better than he did in Green Bay this year. He did
He did
38.97. That's only 11. That's only 103 yards from 4,000. So let's not get crazy. Let me backtrack on my Aaron Rodgers hate a little bit. Let me check myself because the statistics have checked me a little bit here. 38.97, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 90.5 rating. That's not you can win some games with that. And a guy like that can get paid in the NFL. That is
right.
about 35 to 40 million. That's about at least, you know what? Let me tell you this about Aaron Rodgers. At least he's earning his money. No matter what I say about the guy, let me just go ahead and pause some of my Aaron Rodgers hate here to say this as I look at these statistics. No matter what I say about the guy, he's not a guy that's out there stealing $35, $40 million like some of these other players are. As I look at these numbers, you're close to 4,000 yards. You almost have those 30 touchdowns, or 28 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. You're almost there. So It's like you're almost at that number. And I feel like there's a lot of guys who are making over what you're making now who don't have these numbers that you have here now.
Right.
So, but he's not stealing money. But I do think that does go to the ultimate point we were making before, though. And I think it kind of, looking at these statistics, kind of nails that point home even more. Because now, if you see numbers like this, he has some production.
Yeah.
But if you're still saying I want out of the Aaron Rodgers business with this production, that's more damning to me than an extreme fall off. And you say that I want out of the Aaron Rodgers business. You're letting him walk. You're paying him. And he gave you pretty good quarterback plays. Zach Wilson wasn't giving you nowhere near this.
No, nothing.
So he gave you not bad quarterback play at the position. I need to look at some other quarterbacks, see where he really ranks. But 38.97, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions is not bad. That's not you. I've seen quarterbacks do a lot worse than that. It's interesting because now you just got to see who's willing to take the drama, man. All right, who's willing to take the drama?
That's it. That's your issue right there. And then you can see it brings your franchise down. It brings your other players down. And yes, those stats are great, but you can see if you watch the Jets play, it wasn't a good team. Like there wasn't that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's your issue. Yeah. He put those stats up, but it's like, but if you watch the team play, nobody wanted to play with him. He's like, nobody wanted to be his teammate, and that's your issue. It was like you want those stats, but you also want your guys to respect you, and I just don't. I think that's where the issue has come the last
Do
few
you
years.
think that he didn't have any respect? Is that what you?
Maybe just I don't know. You just see different guys. I mean, you just see different teams play for different guys. I mean, if Josh Allen was in that huddle, it would be different. What Hurts was in that huddle, it would be different. I mean, just yes, he's put in the stats, but you can just see guys that they don't want to play with him. You know, you can already see guys that want to be traded away from that organization. And that, again, I know that's a Jets thing or Aaron Rodgers thing, but
Man, it appears to be a Jet. As much as I can't throw Aaron Rodgers under the bus for that because the Jets have had that problem for almost of my life.
They have.
It's like most of my life they've had this issue, but I don't think that necessarily saved Aaron Rodgers though from any culpability here, because I think that's also sometimes two things can be right, Eugene. The Jets are a disaster of an organization.
They are.
And
they don't let them
continue
escape
to
from
be.
anything.
We can't let them escape.
Absolutely.
Right. They exactly are still a dumpster fire of an organization. That being said, Aaron Rodgers is a lot, and he brings a lot with him. And maybe this is a sign that the stats just aren't going to be enough. If we don't have the stats and we're not winning the way we want to be winning, we're not going to tolerate it. We just don't want to take it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe that's what's being said,
Correct. Yeah. And I think it's wise for them. You have a new coach coming in. Just start over.
He said, "I'm out of." He said, "No, thank you." So what Aaron said.
Right.
Aaron Glenn, man.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
no thanks.
Yeah, I think it's smart. Everyone just move on. It was an experiment. We tried it for 2 years. It didn't work out. And again, this is nothing against Aaron. I mean, we all respect him. We respect the talent, but like you said, it comes with the circus, and this circus can be annoying for your fan base, your franchise, and your players. And just again, the stats, yes, they're fantastic, but it just didn't produce the wins. And I think the Jets are just move on. Just what do you got? Just tank and maybe get a quarterback in the future, or just get someone free agency. But yeah, I think it's wise that he moved on at this point.
Yeah, me too. And we'll make that the last word here. This is Just the Stats. Check us out, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. See you next time.